Hello students, thank you for joining me. I've recorded a similar video last year which I covered what are the skills needed to get into application support engineering. But I kind of wanted to visit the same video and see what's relevant to today's market because it's kind of crazy how many things changed over the past year. So this is based on my findings and looking at almost 700 to 800 different job descriptions. Uh, so let's get to it, right? First thing is operating systems. Before time, if you were a Linux administrator or if you knew the basics of Windows systems, you were going to be okay because they didn't, knowing that having an administrative certifications that guaranteed that you know the operating system, you know how to mount things, you know how to navigate things, you know how to move things around. And those are most of the things that we get support engineers they get asked to do, right? To move a bunch of files, to look at the logs, to move a database, things of that nature. So knowing that you had a Linux administrative certificate, you were guaranteed to know the basic networkings, all the protocols, and basically the things that's part of the job. But right nowadays, what changed is that having that certification in Linux or Windows Server, that's not enough. They expect you to have a certificate in AWS or to know the concepts that are related to AWS. And when I was looking at seeing which certificate is enough to get you started and covering most of the things that you're being asked to, is that you really need to have the AWS Cloud Practitioner. That gives you most of the things that that you're being asked in a job description. Moving on to database systems, again, we see the same thing as operating systems. You were probably in a very solid position before if you knew SQL Server or any NoSQL database, but that has changed. Now I see a lot of jobs that they're asking for Amazon RDS or DynamoDB. I also see jobs with Azure SQL databases, PostgreSQL, Cosmos DB. So again, you're seeing that your traditional knowledge is not enough. Now it has to be tied to these their equivalent in cloud. So again, it's a little bit annoying because you kind of have to relearn everything that you know, but that's where the job market is heading, and knowing how many applicants we have, it's crazy. I'm seeing 6,000, 8,000 applicants for a given job, and if you think that's not bad enough, the same job gets reposted, and I just find it very difficult to believe that a job that already had 6,000 applicants, they were not able to find their a suitable candidate among that population, and they had to repost the job. It's almost make me think that maybe it's just some sort of an algorithm that is trying to harvest resumes and later on process them for some sort of application. Because honestly, it's just mind-boggling that you cannot find somebody from 8,000 people. All right, let's move on to scripting. Scripting is still, if you know Bash or PowerShell, those are very relevant. You cannot go wrong with them. I put a lot of time towards PowerShell, and that makes me very marketable. You can never go wrong with learning PowerShell. Between Bash and PowerShell, I would definitely choose PowerShell because it's newer, it's more relevant. It has better documentation. It has lots of newer type of tutorials out there. So I would that would be my vote for programming languages. We also see what we're seeing is that they're asking for Python, they're asking for Go. I see some JavaScript, but JavaScript, because of the coding boot camps, that area is super saturated. So everyone who went to a coding bootcamp and was promised to become a full stack developer, what they were teaching them was JavaScript. So that led to a lot of saturation in the market. You have so many JavaScript developers that they cannot find a job, and the proportion of folks with JavaScript as their stack and the jobs that are being posted in that area is a very bad balance. So what I can tell you is that forget about learning JavaScript. If you know it, good for you. If you don't know it, probably with all those applicants and all the ones that are coming in that area, maybe it's not reasonable to learn that anymore. What I would put my money on is learning Python, or especially Go. I'm seeing a lot of jobs that are asking for Go as a backend development programming language, but also towards the scripting, automation, everything that relates to the application stack. With Python, you can never go wrong with Python. But what I see with Python is not as bad as JavaScript, but Python, I also see a high number of applicants. For any Python job or for any, it's almost like the equivalent of C Sharp and Microsoft Stack. So you're guaranteed to have at least 800 applicants. So you get between 4 to 800 applicants. But then again, it's not the number of applicants that should dictate what technologies that you should learn. It's really comes down to whether there are jobs. And I can tell you, I don't see a lot of jobs in JavaScript. Maybe I set a LinkedIn alert. I get 1 or 2 jobs across the US every now and then. But with Python and Go, you're guaranteed to get more jobs. So if I would invest anything, Go is newer, but Python, it's well documented. It has a very large community. I'm just seeing new books on Go, but with Python, you have a lot of learning material, both free and paid ones. So I would really put my focus on learning Python. And that's pretty much it. These are things you need to know if you want to land a job in application support engineering. I don't think if these demands are going to change for the rest of the year. But again, the biggest shift we've seen is how the emergence of cloud and how companies embraced cloud technology, and now you have to try to learn the equivalent of what you already knew, but with the difference of how it's done in cloud. All right, thanks everyone. Let me know what you think, and I'm really interested to hear about your finding and what are the things that you're studying now. Thank you. Bye.